Is the Islamic regime in Iran truly a brutal and oppressive theocracy, or is the West painting them worse than they actually are? Well, Hooman Khalili, board member of Transform Iran, joins us now. So, my brother, what is the Iranian regime actually like?
So they're entirely unpredictable. They are merciless. They abuse and oppress their own people in a way you cannot imagine. And the West never shows it because, unfortunately, it's not part of the narrative that the West is pushing. So if a woman shows her hair today, one of the ways they mark them is they'll shoot out one of their eyes. At the beginning, what the Islamic regime was doing was they were just murdering the women or putting them in prison, but they wanted them to suffer more. And so the reports are they've blinded well over 500 women. The other thing they do is they will publicly lash a woman so that people will gather around and watch somebody getting whipped. Another thing they do is for the parents that protest, they'll find the schools that their children go to. They'll lock the doors of those schools. They'll put poison in the vents. The children will be trapped in the school. And then after about 45 minutes or an hour, they'll open the doors and the kids will come out vomiting, crying, having to be rushed to the hospital. So the ways of torturing their own people have no end. It's constant. And one of the things that is really impressive is even when someone is about to be killed and they'll say, renounce, we'll have mercy on you, the people never do. They'll say, I'm glad I protested against you. I'm glad I showed my hair. I'm glad I stood with those women. If you're going to kill me, then do it. So it's a level of courage that many people are not used to seeing.
So here's the question. Why is the PR campaign being lost so terribly?
Right. So that's a great question. Unfortunately, it's a numbers game. So the amount of people that seem to be pro what's happening in the Arab world with the Palestinians, and unfortunately, it spills over to the Islamic regime, far outnumber the amount of us who are anti the Islamic regime. On top of that, one of the things that the Islamic regime has been doing recently, because right now the conversation is, should Iran have a nuclear bomb? That is the wrong conversation. The conversation everybody should be having is, why are women being killed for showing their hair? But as long as the Islamic regime is able to use their social media presence and their numbers, they're able to maneuver and manipulate the conversation in a way where those of us like me who are saying, stop talking about Iran's nuclear program and start talking about the women's right abuses, which are happening by the hour. I mean, ever since Israel struck Iran and the United States, what has Iran done? They've cracked down on Persians in a way you cannot possibly imagine. You know, to this day, it's hard to know exactly how many Persian Jews there are still remaining in Iran. I've heard a number as low as 10,000. I've heard a number as high as 50,000. But they're going into the synagogues and raiding those synagogues and attacking the Persian Jews as we speak right now. In Iran, there are a few legal religions. You're allowed to be Muslim, you're allowed to be Christian, you're allowed to be Jewish, and you're allowed to be Zoroastrian. So anyone that falls outside of those four is immediately persecuted anyway. So the amount of difficulty and hardship and death is nonstop, but because the Islamic regime has the numbers and the people and the proxies, they're able to manipulate social media in a way where you've got these micro-influencers who are American going to Iran right now. And what are they saying? Look at Iran. Look at how beautiful Iran is. We don't know why the news is the way it is. We love this place. And all of those influencers are being paid by the Islamic regime to mislead Americans.
Well, the president of Iran was recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson. There seems to be this full PR campaign that's, I think, actually being very successful of saying, you know what, maybe we have our problems, but the West is overblowing them. Like, everyone relax. Like, obviously, we're the victims in this situation. if you could talk to someone who doesn't have their mind made up quite yet about the reality of the Islamic regime, um, how would you push back? And you already have been, obviously, but I think your perspective is so invaluable because you're born in Iran, you're on the board of Transform Iran. You dedicate a lot of your life to this. But a lot of people, it's not penetrating, and they just see it as like, oh, well, here goes the United States on their imperialistic quest to invade more, Middle Eastern countries, and it doesn't sit well with a lot of Americans. But from your perspective, why should Americans care about what's happening in Iran and what the Islamic regime is actually about?
So the short answer is, if you stabilize Iran, you've stabilized the whole Middle East. If you get rid of the number one sponsor of terrorism, Hezbollah goes away, Hamas goes away, the Houthis go away, and probably all of the damage that's happening in Afghanistan goes away. So this is why Americans should care. A stable Middle East means a stable world. Now, you brought up Tucker Carlson, and right now there's a huge war on social media. Should Tucker Carlson interview the president of Iran? Should he not? Is a big propaganda thing. It is a big propaganda push. 100% it is. But, and for the person that is trying to figure out and make up their mind, this interview with the president of Iran will probably sway them to thinking Iran is good. Probably. So, should Tucker Carlson have interviewed him? I'm actually going to say yes, but I don't think Tucker Carlson held his feet to the fire. I don't think he's bringing up any of the things I'm sharing with you about little girls getting poisoned, about women being blinded, about women being lashed. So, I'm assuming this is going to be a very softball interview, and I'm sure that the president of Iran is going to blame Israel and the Jews for everything. But at the end of the day, never forget, every American watching this, the Islamic regime wakes up every morning and they shout on their parliamentary floor, "Death to America, death to Israel. Death to America, death to Israel." And they chant it over and over. Now, if you, Raj, were to say, "Death to the Islamic regime," would you mean it? Of course you would mean it. Of course you would mean it. Like, you wouldn't say it unless you meant it. Nobody's going to say something like that unless they mean it. And so to every American, I want you to know that the Islamic regime means it. They want death to America. They want to drop atomic bombs everywhere. And the greatest gift that, at least in the temporary, that Donald Trump did was dropping those bombs on the uranium enrichment sites.
Okay, so that's really insightful. Maybe one last question. We hear that they call America the great state and the death to Israel, death to the United States. But I think for a lot of folks is, okay, that sounds like really aggressive rhetoric. Do you believe that the Iranian regime, the Ayatollahs, and everyone involved, the IRGC, if they had the ability, would actually use their nuclear warheads against Israel, the United States?
Not only do I think they would, I'm 100% certain they would. If you read the Quran, it alludes to almost like a nuclear fallout before their Messiah returns. So yes, they 100% want this whole world to burn. I'll tell you one quick story here. So I make murals, and I make murals in support of the women of Iran, and I put them in Israel. My favorite mural of the 18 murals is in Nazareth. Now, you've been to Israel 30 times. I've been to Israel 25 times. Nazareth is an entirely Arab city. It's 70% Muslim and it's 30% Christian. And when I was trying to get my wall in Nazareth, I was talking to this man and I said, "Will you let me paint a mural on this wall in support of the women of Iran and allow their hair to be shown?" And he said, "I'm a Muslim man. Absolutely not. I absolutely will not. I will not." And I said, "Listen, let me ask you something. Do you have any children?" And the man was very proud. He said, "Yes, I have 3 daughters and 1 son." I said, "After the Islamic regime of Iran kills every Christian and every Jew, who are they going to kill next? Because I know you're not Shiite." And he says, "That's right, I'm Sunni." And after they kill every Christian and every Jew, they're going to kill my daughters. I said, you're right. Your daughters are next. And after 4 hours, he said, okay, I changed my mind. You can support the women of Iran on my wall.
Wow. Well, my brother, I so value your insight. You have an incredible perspective. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.